Make your voices be heard. Call us, text us. Kaieteur Radio 99.1, 99.5 FM. The Wake Up Guyana Show. Hello, dear. Good afternoon. Welcome once again to the Wake Up Guyana Show. It's a brand new year, so let me take this opportunity on behalf of the team of the Wake Up Guyana Show, right here in the studio at Saffron Street, Georgetown, on Kaieteur Radio, to wish you all the best for 2021. It's a brand new year that promises much as we move this country forward, and there are opportunities presenting ourselves that we could be able to better ourselves, better this country. It will take diligence, it will take discipline, it will take lots of hard work, and maybe some people costing us that sometimes for us to take this, if we want to take it to the next level pretty quickly into a first world country, we have to do things differently. We cannot sit on our hands, as we would say. We have to start being disciplined. We have to start doing things differently. We have to get up and get, as the old people would say. We could recall what our mothers, what our fathers, what our grandchildren would say. So it's January the 4th, 2021. 2021, we are going to be making mistakes. It's 2020 and so on as we announce what we're doing here because it's natural. That happens at the beginning of the year as we become more accustomed. Couple of things happening today. First working day of the year. There are children going back to school. Children between the form. I think it is between form 4 to 6. They are going back to school. All the rest of the children, they are doing a combination or a hybrid system. Some children are going to continue to use the internet to do the Zoom and WhatsApp classes, while others are going to be using workbooks to do their classes. Those are in areas for children who can't afford and have very little or no access to internet. And so I want to take this opportunity to wish them all the best in this new year. I know that they are going to get ready for the CSEC exams coming up in a few months' time, about 5 months thereabouts, I think it is. So we are going to be paying very close attention to that. We'd also have to tell you a couple of other things to discuss on our program here today. We have, fortunately, with us today a very young person, somebody who is very charismatic. We were looking for somebody who could have joined me on the show here. We did experiment at one point in time with another young lady. Today we have Kimal King, one of our frontline reporters here at Kaieteur News, and he has been a feature also appearing on the radio. You would have been hearing him, and you've seen his writings as well. And he's very feisty. We intend to make use of a brain such as his to take the show to another level because there are going to be some changes in the next few days as I go off. And we're going to be talking a little bit that in a very short while. What are some of the things that we could expect? As Kim will keep my company during this week as we evolve into where he's going to be hosting, co-hosting, and so on. Taking us through the paces with the Wake Up Guyana show. It's such a big show that we don't want it to go anywhere, but to continue to engage our people right across this beautiful land of ours. So, to our people across this country, wherever you are, we want to say good day to you, a happy New Year's to you as well, a prosperous New Year. We hope that this year, the lessons that we would have learned last year, that you're able to take it and we're able to get a better year. We would have been in a very uncertain period, very unclear, very unsure as to what this pandemic was all about. We would have been in a period in which the elections of 2020 would have brought us much uncertainties. We were for several months in limbo as we awaited one court case after another, one political party after another with the statements, the time in between left hanging there. Fortunately, it came to an end on August the 2nd when a new president was sworn in. Because that's the end of the election process. Of course, we know that there's an elections petition ongoing by the former administration under the coalition. The coalition now of the AFC and the APNU, they have filed an elections petition. While that's happening, there is a functioning administration in place. As this year go forward, there's a couple of things that the government have been talking about. Vaccination of COVID-19. That's going to be a major challenge as they get ready to collect those vaccines, those COVID-19 vaccines, and to administer those vaccines to our people. We will bring you those breaking news as always. Kaieteur News, Kaieteur Radio, as we would every single day in our newspaper and on our radio here, which thanks to you, the people of Guyana, we've been able to take to the next level, becoming the number one radio in this country. And of course, we've maintained our stay here as the number one newspaper in this country. And of course, we have thousands of persons as we speak right now, every single day, according to the newspaper. On Sunday alone, we would have had 125,000 persons would have been, or 125 clicks to our website there of Kaieteur News. That is not any little. It has maintained that for several years now. It's not going anywhere. And so that is some very good things when it comes to talking about the hard work of our people at the Kaieteur News and Kaieteur Radio here. Of course, I want to say Happy New Year's again to our publisher, Mr. Leonard, and the rest of the crew right here at Kaieteur News, our newsroom there, hardworking reporters. They are a young bunch who has made us very proud. They are, I know, have not lost any of the energy that we would have seen. But let us don't talk too much on that today because we have our business to do. We want to open our lines in a very short while to allow our people to get through. And those numbers again, let me just repeat it. It's 6222222, 6222222, and 226. You send those messages, so 6222222. Do not call us on that. And the number that you call into our studio is 226-7453. Let's make those phone calls very short. And so we could be able to address as many people as we can, the complaints, the comments, and so we want to entertain, we want to interact with those people. But before we move any further, I want to engage my colleague, my co-hosts, session today, January the 4th, 2021. No other than our very own Kimal King. Kimal, good day to you, sir. How are you doing?
Good day, Mr. Gildarie, and good day,
You,
Guyana.
you got to stop it right here. You cannot call me Mr. Gildarie on the show. People call me out there, and I am very upset with that. You either call me
Right.
Gregory or Leonard
Len.
or Len or Lenny, whatever it is. Mr. Gildarie, it's true thing. And you're my colleague, man. We're in the same room. I
Right.
think you would have ate out of my bowl, and I ate out of your bowl. Calm
Yes.
it, right? Take it
Of
to the next
course.
level here. So you all bongsy ready for this year?
Of course, Len.
Okay, very good. You know, see, he's a quick learner, right? And so Kimal, let me tell you a little about Kimal. Kimal walked into that department. He got his feet wet, and he was there learning a little thing. All of a sudden, Kimal just burst out. I think he was setting the department up for kill. I'm talking about the newsroom. What do I mean by that? He was learning very quietly, observing everything that we do. And when he came out, very artistic young man, very well spoken, articulate, and very knowledgeable when it comes to the subject matters that he is involved in. And so I know that I'm very confident that as I move off, and we would have discussed this over the last couple of months, that this early in this new year, I'd have to move off for a couple of months as I do some medical checks and so on. And I'm very fortunate to have Kimal, who's going to be leading the way with Wake Up Guyana. You might be able to see me sometimes dropping into the studio and so on. The people say, keep away from computers, keep away from the phones and so on. Do not have too much of that, because as part of the medical diagnostic tests and so on, I have to do some relaxation and so on. So it's important that I don't do anything with the computers. But Kemal is going to be here. I am just a phone call away as well. You guys could call me. I don't have to see to take a phone call too much, not too much strain on the eyes here. But Kemal, um, do you have a big mouth?
Very
Meaning,
big mouth. I mean, you've heard it in the newsroom all the time.
right. And so you would have to be dealing with some people, and they're very good bunch of people out there. Our people in Guyana, they're a warm set of people all across this nation. Of course, our nation has been broken for a very long time. Our people wanted answers, and politicians and so on. For a long time, they were not paying attention to really what the people were saying. Issues like NIS Kimal, GWI, or the utilities companies and pensions and social benefits and so on are big issues for people. So they're going to call you, and I know that Kimal has infinite patience, and he's going to be listening, and he's going to be taking those calls, and he's going to get back to you and tell you what are some of the things that he's fine, because he's going to you're going to hear people going to call and tell you about noise nuisance and so on. And EPA, our regulators are very important, and we have to have those numbers and so that we could probably be able to give it. So I'm very confident. Kimal, year 2020, and we talked about this on Thursday, and year 2021. Just very briefly, thoughts, and how do you perceive 2021 to be?
Well, I think going into the new year, a lot of people would say 2020 was bad, it was very difficult, and 2021 is going to be better. I think that people have this way that they say, oh, because we're going into the new year, it's automatically going to get better. And what I'd say to that is the year is not automatically going to get better for you. You have to make it better. You have to get up and do the things that make your life better, including going out and calling your representatives in government and telling them what you want from them. I think, according to my observation, a lot of the people in Guyana, they've been, I don't know if apathetic would be the right word to use. I feel like there's a need for more people to get up and fight for what they want.
I think so. I think that's in fact maybe if I know that the guys are very busy downstairs, they don't get all time to listen to it. One of the big things that we've done here, Kemal, is that every single day we push our people to be a little more aggressive, to agitate a little more, because if you understand that this country is yours, the resources that we have here are yours. If the police do you something or NIS do you something as a tax-paying citizen, well, even if you're not paying tax, that passport, if you have one, very important. The fact that you're a citizen in this country is very important. We've got to wake up. That's why this show is the Wake Up Guyana show. It's not for you to wake up in the afternoon. No, 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 no. What we're saying, wake up your soul. So you could start to understand, take ownership of this country, and start demanding from your leaders that they do a little more or much more to improve this country, so you could live the quality of life that we also very much deserve. And you know, we've been through some couple tough years. If you've traveled, and Kim Alders has traveled as well, if you've traveled, you would be able to see what other countries, how people are living, and you say, I wish I could be like that. Looking
That's right.
forward, Kimal, you've seen a lot of people talking with Guyana. Guyana, the potential, Guyana, what we have here. Are you positive about our future?
It all depends, like I said, on choice. In the past 5 years, seeing how the country has been governed, um, at times it would feel very difficult to be hopeful because sometimes, leaders make decisions that you just don't understand and they're not responsive when you try to get answers. So it really all depends on what we do from here on after. We actually had a story recently carried from our Inter-American Development Bank country manager, Sophie McConnell, who said that Guyana cannot continue operating the way it has been operating for the past 5 years, especially with the management of its natural resources, its oil and gas resource, which is the thing that's supposed to skyrocket us into prosperity. We really have to buck up and do things differently from here on after.
And yes, and the writing would have been on the wall, and we've seen it. It came out on very important, critical reports, reminders, if you will. That's coming from internationally recognized organization. IDB ain't no play. They've been around for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to borrow money or anything, that would have been one of the top bilateral institutions that we would have been turning to. You would have seen the World Bank, I think, talking about it too, and other very important critical bodies talking about systems and procedures and so on, new updated laws in this country. Um, Kimal, you would have been writing a lot about legislations, updated laws, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Very quickly, before we move into our stuff and we come back, because these are the kind of conversation that we should have to take the Wake Up Guyana show to the next level.
That's right.
If we want to move this country, why is it important that we have good laws, good monitoring, good enforcement, and so on?
Are you referring specifically to oil and
No,
gas?
are we talking generally? Because you can have all the laws in the world. If you don't enforce it,
Mm-hmm.
I think the issue that I have, you have EPA there,
Yeah.
you have the police force, and you could talk about so many other regulatory bodies, the PUC, Public Utilities Commission, you have the Police Service Commission,
Mm-hmm.
and so on and so forth. If they don't take the necessary steps in order to enforce the laws that are there, people are going to be having a slap on the wrist and people walk away, while the poor man on the street,
Mm-hmm.
they pay the price for it. Why is it important that we need to have new laws and enforcement?
Well, you know, the world is changing all the time. I say single out laws that would deal with policing, for example. Crime is honestly just constantly evolving. The high collar crime, or what we would call high collar crime 10, 20 years ago, when you look at what's happening right now, just the scale of theft and criminality that you see around the world, with laws that are 20, 30, 40 years old, you cannot recognize and properly police crime if you're working with outdated laws. You have to update laws according to your current understanding of crime and security. And I could also apply that to say the environment. We didn't know what we know about the environment today, 40, 50 years ago. They say, for example, that our Environmental Protection Act needs to be updated. And that's because scientists are finding so much today, and we have to update our laws in order to accept and understand that new reality.
And I thank you very much for that. And so let's get right down into our business, what we do here every single day, which is looking at some of the top stories here. And we would have some pretty good discussion. This year, of course, holds a lot of promises. And what do I mean by that? I think we are in a better position to understand what this pandemic, what this virus is all about. Of course, the worry for me is the evolving, the new strain of the coronavirus, the COVID 19,
Hmm.
and what we see in that's happening. Do we have the capacity to deal with it? Because you can make the vaccine, but if there's a change in phase to it, how do
Mhm.
you deal with something like that? And we've already committed to get some vaccines for the one that we have here. What happens if the new strain? So I think only time would probably tell us. But the new year, in terms of Guyana, there are promises of a lot of ventures in this country, infrastructure-wise. I think we're looking at the start of a new Demerara Harbour Bridge this year. We are also looking at an alternative, which I think is a very critical link. That alternative is Bank Road that is going to be linking Ogle, is going to take the traffic off, that's going to link you to Georgetown if you go in. If you're coming from Georgetown, that you could be able to bypass the Harbour Bridge and so take to these Bank Road, which takes away some of the traffic around that bottleneck area, around Bagotstown and so on. So those are two pretty big contracts. Of course, we also looking into oil and gas related projects, and of course some promises of some hotels. It is going to be a very crazy year. I think one of the big issues that we have to address in a very emphatic manner that would have to be the what you call the migrant situation. It has been something that has only been whispered about. There has not been any major statement by this government, and very little statements coming from the previous administration here. How do we deal with thousands of new people in our lands? And I think that is going to be, it has to be dealt with. There will have to be probably new regulations, because we'd have to cater how the hospitals, how job wise, and so on, people are going to do it, because you'd have to make it very, very clear that our locals are not displaced, but at the same time, we have a very big responsibility to have a very humane response as possible with regards to that. Are you worried, Kimal, about the migrant situation? Are you seeing the everywhere you turn, you're seeing somebody that's here?
Yeah, the face of the country has certainly gotten very different. I read recently that this global organization called Relief Web, which is a daughter organization of a United Nations office, they said that by the end of 2020, we'd have seen about 28,000 Venezuelans in Guyana. And for 2021, they expect us to get about 5,000 more. I think that Guyana has always been a very hospitable country
Yep.
in how we respond to people, and it's been very difficult for us to respond to the pandemic alone. But I think we can make it.
Yes, but what you do, what you would want, like I've always said, if you have a country and you're setting it up there, that you, these people, if you have people here, you want them to be good citizens.
Mm-hmm.
You want them to be part of the education system, and you can't just have them just enter in.
That's right.
What we'd have to do is have a very structured approach, meaning they have to be registered, ID cards eventually will have to be issued. You don't want you to come here and then somebody being paid a couple $1,000, and then all of a sudden somebody might have a criminal record. So they have to be very structured approach,
Mm-hmm.
that is with a system, maybe that you have your police clearance or some kind of system to know that you're a legit, bona fide kind of person who wants to be a citizen or become a citizen of this country. When it comes to you not being a citizen yet, you don't want to be sitting there and not working.
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of mechanism or mechanisms is this country going to have in place to deal with those people? And whether we like it or not, when you look at what other countries, we could remember Barbados and Trinidad and so on. I lived in St. Martin, and there was a very big issue because they have to control the migrant population in terms of not only how much jobs are you having in a particular area. You don't want it to be saturated that there's 5,000, somebody's coming in and apply for a sales girl work or
Mm-hmm.
salesman, but there is an overwhelming amount that people are applying for that particular area. You'd want to protect your locals first and foremost, and not issue any work permits in that particular area. So this is something that is very, very big there. But I know that you have a lot of how you say it, you would have a lot of ideas as to how we could probably talk about that, because it
Mm-hmm.
should have a lot of research. I don't agree with that 20,000 figure that's been put forward.
Mm-hmm.
I think somewhere along the line last year, there were some projections, I think, with the International Organization of Migration, IOM, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
They would have said about 40,000. I rather suspect
Mm-hmm.
that we have maybe about 60,000 plus Venezuelans in the country right now, and this right across this coastline. I'm not even talking about what's happening in the hinterlands here. Schools reopening. Have you heard anything with that today?
Uh, the government has decided that they'd have a full reopening, but it's very difficult to
When,
fathom
as of today?
how that's going to go forward. No, sometime of late, I'm not. I must be wrong about it today,
Uh-huh.
but it's sometime soon they intend to have a reopening.
Well, as of today, I think over the weekend, what we do have is grade 10 to 12. They are the ones who are going to have face to face classes, because I think I would warn, especially with this new strain and everything, because a lot of parents don't have access to their own transportation. And then you put in kids in class, what kind of control mechanisms do you have there? I rather suspect that's something they're thinking about. It has to be on the horizon, but not right away. I don't see that happening. I'd be for one to want to find out whether that could happen right away.
I'll tell you one thing that we have to look out for with the new COVID variant. I was reading the British Medical Journal this morning, and one of the things they found is that the transmissibility seems to place children at more of a disadvantage. It seems that children are more susceptible to the new COVID variant. So that's definitely something we have to look out for. If it gets here and we're having children go back to school in numbers.
But let's see what happens. I fully agree. Today there would be good news for the NIS folks. NIS has announced that its offices right across this country is open to business fully. The only issue is that you would have to make sure that if you're visiting them to conduct any kind of business, so that restrictive mode that you would have seen the last couple of months that you're complaining, they are open now, so you could be able to engage them. But make sure that you wear your mask, that you're going to be asked to sanitize yourself, and of course social distancing, and so they're going to have tents and so on. And I think of course today is where pensions, they're going to engage people with pensions for the new years, for this new year and so on. The president over the weekend in his New Year's message would have announced that very early in the new year, the second phase of the $25,000 cash grant for public servants are going to be is going to be restarted, that initiative. So they're about to close off. Well, they will be closing because several areas, including parts of Georgetown, have not started receiving that $25,000 cash grant. On the East Bank, they haven't come to Diamond and Grove as yet, and I presume right Prospect and those other areas. So they'd have to complete that. But the president said they're moving to the next phase. As we know, the first phase would have excluded any tenants. It would have excluded those persons, multiple families living in one home. Only one family would have received, according to the rules that they would have set up for this 25,000. Do we have any idea as to how that is working out, Kimal?
Well, I can't tell you right now. I'd have to get
Right.
back to you.
I think there hasn't been any statement recently. Of course, Barbies, I think Yakasari and Blackbush Polder, somebody would have sent me a text with regards to the water situation. I want to say good day to the people down in Blackbush here on quarantine, the East Bank Barbies. And I did speak to Minister Colin Crowell, and he says he's aware of that situation. He's hoping within the next day or so to have that fully rectified. They had some issues with mud in the well, and so they had to do a new casing, or they will have to do a new casing, send it down back again so the people could have an improved pressure. They're getting water, I think, from Johanna at the moment, or might be curious somewhere, to the Yakasari area, so that's been addressed. I could tell you that over the weekend, though, a good set of stories here. While there's a lot of sadness, 106 years old, this lady here, COVID-19. Does a story? Did you see that story, Kimal, of 106 years old? She would have been a survivor from COVID-19, and she's made it to 106. How many of us could boast of that? Is this a good thing?
It's definitely a good thing. I worry if I was at that age and got COVID, what would have happened to me?
Well, yes, and the food for thought that a lot of road accidents. Let me tell you this. I was amazed on Old Year's night that it was by my brother in Diamond and came outside. And a dog ran out. And this is something we got to be very careful. I'm very angry with this. We opened the gate to go outside a little around 12 midnight, to see what's happening. And there was a dog. Somebody chopped the dog, and the dog ran out and ran into the house. There was a lot of mess. But it was painful for the animals, those who have animals, on Old Year's night. And we did talk about the illegal sale of firecrackers. And we know it's something that has been with us. It's a tradition every year. But we got to be very careful that we don't break the laws and continue this madness. It has to be controlled. And what we have happening is a bunch of selfish people cross this land of ours who are willing to break the laws, are willing to put our animals in pain. And I know people can say, well, I'll allow the people to cut to enjoy themselves. We cannot do that. We have to be very cognizant. There might be people who might not be able to take it. The older folks might not be able to take the loud. And then let me tell you, some very loud firecrackers. In your area, did you see that?
I was actually here when we crossed over into the new year, and yes, the fireworks were out of control in this neighborhood. And so many people were posting about how when their dogs and so on heard the firecrackers, how the trauma made them respond to it, that they'd be affected even days after.
Well, let me tell you this. I was by my brother, and the two dogs that he has, two of those small Dachshund kind of dogs, very, very, very loving. but they don't know me that much. So they were staying far from me. When the fireworks started to go off, they were so scared that they came and they wrapped themselves around my legs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I could see the fear, the fright.
Mm-hmm.
What is happening here? And so this is something we have to really pay attention. I think it speaks to a very deeper something, which is our monitoring, our enforcement of our laws in this country. Do you see that the mere fact that people are not paying attention to that is something that speaks deeper
With respect
to
to
our
animals,
enforcement, our capacity to enforce?
with respect to laws
Right,
protecting
right.
animals, yeah, I actually spoke to a woman named Sherry Rodriguez, who is an animal lover, and she talks about how we do have laws that cater to the protection of animals, but they're not enforced, and they also need to be updated, and a lot of people don't seem to care about that.
Right. And I think this is something we got to start. Let's say that I can't tolerate any fireworks. Why is it that you have the right to force your inconvenience, or
Mm-hmm.
your because you want to enjoy something, that I have to be inconvenienced? I
Mm-hmm.
think it has to do with my rights as well.
Yes.
And I think that it speaks to something that has to do with that. I think we'd have to look at this year too. I'm very upset with the Auditor General Report 2019. You would have had a look at that key mall, and very quickly, this was something that we have to pay attention to. Year after year, we telling our account managers, and these are the REOs. Let me tell you who these culprits are.
Mm-hmm.
These people who committing all these crimes, and I say crimes because you know what is the correct thing. We have permanent secretaries, regional accounting officers, executive officers, REOs. We have accountants in the various state entities. They know what the rules are, what they could do and not do. Yet, year after year, we have the Auditor General, the Audit Office of Guyana, auditing our accounts. And guess what? I'm going to come to that in a very short while. Many times, many of the cases on state contracts, millions of dollars, billions of dollars, if you put them all in totality, are being lost or because of poor record keeping. And we know when you keep poor records, what are the implications, what are the conclusions that you could make. That it's deliberately done, and the only reason why you would do that is to steal the damn money. Sorry, but the damn. But it is what we're doing, because those monies could come in for helping our poor people of this country and other programs. What about paying more pensions? Let's get this thing right. So when you see or the general report, Kimal, that comes out every single year, and we're talking about it, and yet they keep doing the same thing. Is this lawlessness or not?
It definitely is. I mean, when you talk about people in local government offices stealing millions of dollars, I don't even think that when these reports come out about our leaders in central government, that there is much accountability at all. I mean, that's the place where you have to start. And if you don't see accountability there, I don't think you'd expect to see it in local government.
But hold on. Year after year, I coming back and tell you, Kimal,
Mm-hmm.
don't take my car. You're my son. Don't take my car
Yes.
and go out, and you don't have a license.
Mm-hmm.
And every year I come in, and you start at 13 years old, 14 years old, 15 years old. And every year I come and tell you the same thing. Kimal, you can't take it. You can crash. You're underage. You don't have a license. You're breaching the insurance, and I don't do anything to you. I don't sanction you. I don't ground you. I don't put the keys in a better place. But you keep doing it every year. I say, Kimal, don't do that, son. What is wrong with me? What is wrong with me as a daddy?
Somebody has to go to jail, definitely. And it also comes back to what I said about Guyanese being very apathetic.
Well, that's it. We just keep, we sit back and we allow it. It's not my job. It's Kimal's job. It's Rat's job. A
Mm-hmm.
happy New Year's to Rat. Rat is sitting there. Rat is bearded again. Last week, no beard. This week, beard. Lots of troubles. I think he has domestic problems. We have the possibility of recommending to you, Raj, that you get some serious counsel in there.
Right.
And so I did see one other story, Kimal, before we go to our lines. And of course, I know that some things are burning and bothering you about this country. Quebana, Region 1. And this story here, very teenager on the age, give birth to a baby, abandon the baby. Her parents did not know that she was pregnant. I mean, how could somebody not know that you're pregnant and you're living in the same house? At least that's the story. Abandon the baby. Fortunately, the people in Quebec, there's a small community, has a sawmill. I think it's a Maserati or so who owns a sawmill there. And fortunately, they heard the baby crying and they were able to rescue the baby. And then they were able to get this girl who would have abandoned the baby. But it speaks a lot to our relationship, to our problem of not getting the proper systems in place. Maybe this girl didn't know that she could have turned to XYZ if something like that happened,
Right.
for some kind of help. And it speaks a lot about some of the many backup mechanisms that we have in this country that could give help to our vulnerable people. And those are way off communities. I don't expect them to have a constant center there with a hospital and so on. But it is a place that we would want to be. That you would know a couple months before that you're pregnant and something is going to happen. How do you groove your parents into this? So somebody would have had, a social worker would have had to think. But this is a very sad, I think this is a very almost tragic case, but it speaks volumes as to what are some of the weaknesses in this country, things that we need to fix. While we're talking about more monies, we're also talking about a lot of social mechanisms that are supposed to be in place, that are supposed to fix our people.
Guyana has some of the most progressive sexual offenses and reproductive justice laws in the Caribbean, let me tell you. But there certainly needs to be a change at the ground level in the communities. There's still a very withheld, extremely conservative mindset among a lot of the country that I feel like this young girl should have had the environment created for her that she would have felt comfortable going to her parent or her relative and telling them that she's struggling with this, you know? And then you also have to ask yourself the question, it may not have been a peer that she got pregnant by. It could have been any sort of illicit situation. That all of that she might have been dealing with all by herself.
Right. I think it's a sad indictment, and well, we have to look at these social stories, pay a little attention more, because if you really want to improve this country, we have to start looking not only to our pensioners, those with disabilities, but we also have to look at our people, people who are working just about the minimum wage, and start putting in systems into place that we could be able to use some of our proceeds that are going to benefit. We don't want you to be telling us, or any government, in fact, to be telling us, we're looking so very good. Like I opened the front page of the Chronicle today, as sort of Chronicle today, and it sounds good that Guyana has one of the best. I think is it the GDP? Was it the GDP? I think it is that we did about 26% compare. It is leading in terms of growth. It all sounds good, but how does that translate into monies in the pocket? And so, while there are going to be arguments back and forth from all sides that the government is new, it doesn't stop us from Kimal. It doesn't stop us from wanting to be where some first world countries are at the present. We at the present time we could look at Norway, we could look at Finland, and some of the top countries in the world where the quality of living. Canada is a country where the quality of living is, very top, one of the best places to live in the world. Um, uh, and is that some of the thoughts that you're thinking of, that where we need to plug our monies?
Well, certainly it's the PPP when they were campaigning for office said that from day one they're going to come in and make some very dynamic changes, and all we're doing is holding them to the light for what they're saying.
And let me make it very clear, this Wake Up Guyana show does not subscribe to any political parties. It does not have a constituency that it follows. So we don't have any political aspirations or anything. This particular show here belongs to the people. It's for you to wake up, smell the coffee. It is for us to discuss here topical issues. It's for us to probably talk about solutions, link you up if you can't reach somebody, We want to be able to help you. It's your voice. It's a Wake Up Guyana show right here on Kaieteur Radio. Your host, Leonard Gildarie, and today co-hosting with myself, Kemal King, right here on Kaieteur Radio on Facebook. You could get us on Facebook, Kaieteur Radio on Facebook, or Kaieteur Radio live stream on YouTube. We also coming to you live on 99.1 in Esquibo and Demerara. Berbice, it's 99.5. Kimal, I would leave you because our numbers for the people to call into the studio, they could call us on 226-7453, or the number that you could text us the messages to is 6222222, and I will give Kimal the phone today because it is where our WhatsApp, he's going to read some WhatsApp messages that was sent after 1 o'clock today, and tell us what was it that was some of our people saying with regard to some of the things that they want to address, or generally anything that they believe that this new year should bring. So let us start the ball rolling. Do we have a caller online there? In the meantime, while we doing that, Kimal has the phone. So, he's the co-host, so he's going to do what he has to do. And so I want to say in the meantime, before he starts, I want to say good day to the many persons who have been coming to us day in, day out. They're on with us on our Facebook and so on. The Ashma Bacchus been with us, one of our top fan, in fact. Gildarie Shift Churandi, I want to say good day to you. Jai Parsram, Inti Muhammad, as always, he's been there. Bibi Hussein, Karen Smith. I got to call these people out because they've been with us talking, giving us comments, and they have been encouraging us and so on. But Suknanda and Karen Smith, Jerry Gomes, Tara Jagdio is always a very close person to us there. She's been very encouraging. Chris Parmanan. And as we go forward, let me see, Nanda Prasad, I'm not sure whether I did call you, my dear. Good day, thank you very much. And so over to Kimal there, Karen Smith and so on. So over to you, Kimal.
We have a question coming in from a person. They want to know if there was any person charged for firing off firecrackers this year. And I don't think I've received or read a single report of anyone charged for firing off firecrackers. I know in previous years what the police did is they would send out a warning or something reminding people that this is illegal, but even then there hasn't been any sort of enforcement. I wonder if they think it's too widespread, or if the police has just accepted that the firing off of firecrackers is so widespread and so normal that they're just going to leave it alone.
That's a very important topic. Let me put it this way. For a long time, it wasn't a big issue because nobody was complaining. But you have a lot of animal lovers now, and they have been agitating because they are taking this thing very, very seriously. They see what is happening to the animals over the years. I think, and you have to look at the evolution of Guyana to young Guyana. Over the years, in the beginning, people were very much more concerned about making a daily living. As we got a little better and things started to improve, people went abroad, and with the introduction of the internet and so on, using social media and so on, there has been an agitation coming from a particular segment from the middle class and so on across this country, and they love the animals, they love the pets, the dogs, the cats and so on, and they would have been paying attention. So from that, and while we would have had the laws, they never really pushed it. So what you would have seen happening over the years, it's norm for people to openly sell the firecrackers and so on when the Diwali comes around, or the New Year's, Old Year's, that period there. Things have changed dramatically over the last 2 years. Social media has gone to a next level. We would have seen that during the elections. So what you have happening right now, people are not so tolerant. Not so tolerant. I think that's what's changed.
We're definitely adopting a more Americanized lifestyle.
So yes, and that those I'm not sure whether it's that. I have a dog that died recently, Max, three of them, and we had to split up the family. We have to split the family up because of when that dog died, it split our heart. It really tore our hearts apart. I know my little daughter that she didn't take it so lightly, that we had to part with her dog named Rover. We had to take it away because he was trying to jump. His mom and that's something that we couldn't tolerate. So we had to separate, take him to another place, and we didn't want to fix him. He's young. You can't fix a young dog like that. So we give it to a very good family friend of ours. But it goes, the point is, what I wanted to underscore there, there's a love, there's a growing love and a growing understanding of the rights of animals in this country, of our pets and so on. So let's be very clear. If you're talking about quality of life, these are the issues here. So I'm going to ask Raj, do we have a call online? We don't happen to have a call. Where everybody? Everybody's not working today, or they're working. They gone to work. Everybody gone. There's a call online. Good afternoon, caller on the air. Go right ahead.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Happy New Year's to everybody.
Same to you, sir. Go right ahead.
You guys are saying that we should enforce the laws about Guyana is illegal about firecrackers, right? ExxonMobil is flaring billions of cubic feet of gas, which is illegal. Guyana's EPA has a law. It's illegal to be flaring that amount of gas. And we're not punishing ExxonMobil, but we're going to punishing poor Guyanese for lighting a few firecrackers. Where is the justice in that, sir?
All right, very good. I'm going to, before I hand you off to Kemal, who's quite capable, you want us to answer you on air, or if you come off on air? Off
no,
air.
I'm not finished, sir.
Sure, go right ahead.
Exxon, you guys had a news article today saying that the vice president says that the laws, the agreement written to ExxonMobil is giving the impression that ExxonMobil is above Guyana's laws.
Mm-hmm.
ExxonMobil has sovereignty over Guyana. It's not looking like that. The laws give ExxonMobil sovereignty over Guyana. ExxonMobil is not subject to any laws of Guyana. The agreement was written for ExxonMobil and by ExxonMobil. That agreement was not written by Guyana. That agreement was signed in Houston, Texas, by Trotman. Why, if we are allowed, why our law has to be written, and why does Trotman have to go to Houston, Texas, to sign a production sharing agreement in Houston, Texas? Does the oil belong to Houston, Texas? Where else in the world is a country making a production sharing agreement, and that agreement is signed in another country, in ExxonMobil headquarters in a foreign country?
Well, let me tell you, and that's a very good point that you've made there.
Mm-hmm.
When when that agreement was signed, I mean, if you're signing something as momentous as that, as something as that's a history making like that, you'd want your country to know. You would want your country to know.
That's right.
It's only because this newspaper has been agitating and because we were very aggressive on it that we were able to know these things. But I'll put you on to Kemal, who's been dealing with those issues here. Any other point?
Yes. The only reason that agreement is written that way is that agreement is not written by Guyana, by Trotman and the Guyana Geology Mines Commission. That every single agreement is written by ExxonMobil. All I told that fool is to sign it. And they didn't, it's not incompetence, they were paid to sign it. ExxonMobil has decades of buying third world governments. And APNO AFC is a bunch of fools, right? They are no more intelligent, incompetent than a bunch of fools in Nigeria, in Equatorial Guinea, in Sudan, in Chad, in wherever the people sell out their country. Politicians sell out their country. They're not fools, right? It's not incompetent. They're not incompetent. They're corrupt. They sold out billions of US dollars of the country's worth for a few million US dollars. They all do that. In Angola, what's it, Dos Santos, they do that. They sell out, the politicians sell out their country's resources for a few million dollars. It's not incompetent, so it's grand corruption. And oil companies are the grandest of corruption because they have billions of US dollars to bribe the people with. That's what it is. So don't come and tell me that Rafael Trotman is incompetent. He didn't know what he's signing. He's corrupt. He's a corrupt son of a bitch.
All right. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. So in the meantime, over to you. And you know, people are very angry with this, Kemal.
Mm-hmm.
People are beginning to really wake up and agitated.
Yes.
I use the word agitated because I think it's apt word to describe what we see. People are rising up right now. And what you see that man is saying there is because he's very upset, and we should be very upset. It belongs to us. But there's several points that gentleman raised. Over to you, Kemal.
Mm-hmm. So let me just clear up one issue about the flaring that you mentioned. Flaring has been happening for a year. But Exxon announced that they had finally been able to fix the equipment that was defective for a year. So the routine flaring, as I'd call it, came to an end just a few days before the 1 year anniversary of oil production. So thankfully, the flaring has stopped. Not to say that I'm defensive of Exxon. Kaieteur News has taken a principled stance and led the way, exposing the dishonesties of this oil company and its partners, and we will continue to do that. We had been carrying a series of articles showing how ExxonMobil's flaring for the entire year has damaged this environment and the impact that it's had on the people. ExxonMobil was only supposed to flare for the beginning, so that it could commission or test its equipment. And for some reason, the company didn't do that. And that's not the only issue where ExxonMobil has its operations have been to a detriment to our environment. Alongside the flaring, we've had the issue of produced water that it took the EPA a while to figure out that ExxonMobil has been doing this and the impact it's had on the environment. It was an international lawyer, Melinda Janke, who brought this issue to the fore and told us that ExxonMobil is dumping thousands of barrels of wastewater into the ocean every day. And the thing is, this company is claiming to the people that it will have no impact on the environment, but the company had done no study to be able to tell us that it has no impact on the environment. So it really tells you, I agree with you, sir, the kind of company that we're dealing with, which is why we need to speak to our government representatives and tell them that we need to get institutions like the EPA and the Energy Department and the local content regulators, they need to be imbued with the experience and the know-how in order to be able to stand up to these oil companies. And we're still at a place where we're not doing that. And on the other issue, Global Witness wrote a scathing report early in 2020. And it talked about the situation that the former Minister of Natural Resources was in, Mr. Trotman. And it really makes you wonder about Mr. Trotman's ethics and, like you said, his competence. One of the things that Mr. Trotman has spoken highly about is the fact that he is a trained negotiator from Harvard University, which is one of the top universities on the planet by many, many metrics. And so it really makes you wonder if a top trained negotiator from one of the world's best universities negotiates an agreement that is so catastrophic, and our reporting has showed how catastrophic it is, then what really happened? So you have made one suggestion that maybe it's not incompetence, that maybe these leaders purposely sold us out. And that is what has been going around a lot of people's minds. And I think that probably would have went into how the country felt about the APNU AFC's performance. And I suppose we should ask ourselves whether how the country voted during the election is an indication of how it felt about that administration's performance.
Absolutely, dear. And so if you're now joining us, this is the Wake Up Guyana show. We're doing things a little differently this year. It's a brand new year. It's January the 4th, 2021. I got to get used to 2021, dear. I almost at 2020. And that is because it normally happens at the beginning of the year. And we have with us in the studio here today Mr. Kemal King, and he's my colleague reporter right here at Kaieteur News. Has been somebody, has been growing in leaps and bounds, and he is going to be co-hosting with us and eventually take over the hosting of this program as I move on to a couple of months of leave outside of Kaieteur News, Kaieteur Radio, medical issues. And so we're going to be dealing with that. But Kemal is here, and we are going to be talking about some other things. But right about now, do we have a caller in line? Good afternoon, caller. You on the air. Go right ahead.
I don't mind. Kaieteur.
Yes, it is, and you're on air right now. Go right ahead. Happy
And
New
I just
Year's.
call Happy New Year to everybody in Kaieteur.
Yes, ma'am.
Come to find where the COVID money, man. I guess gonna be like till next year.
Where is it that you're calling from?
I calling from South so
South Georgia?
yeah.
Well, I know they're in that area there because they're in the Sapphire area there. The president in his New Year message, and we could only go by what is being said through the official channels. The president said that they are wrapping up. They're in Region 4 right now. They want to finish off Region 4 and move to the Phase 2 where tenants and the homes with multiple families, those who did not get will get, and they're doing
But to
that.
be honest, in Southern never get a hamper, nothing since last year, things here and all. But nobody never come in South and share anything.
All right. I think they had put a halt on the hamper, and they would decide to go on the way with giving cash to families. I think the
Yeah, what?
problem that they had was who do they get to share all this, and they were using their own teams for the Ministry of Finance and so on. I would have liked it because I haven't received any, and I live in Diamond.
Okay, but I'm still waiting though.
Yes, I think all of us are waiting, but it is. Do you hire a bunch of people and then have an uncontrolled situation? Because what I think the problem that they had, and Kimal, maybe this is something as we go forward. The problem that they had is how do you put cash in the hands of a people in an effort to get it down to everybody? I think that was a challenge that this government had.
Yeah, why I'm calling because since March I didn't work in a home until now. I went and looked for job and I didn't get people right
Did you
now.
try to apply for some public assistance through the human resources, human
No, I
services?
have
You sh-
no number, nothing for that
that
because
well, don't call them. You need to go in, go walk with the ID card and maybe a light bill or something that you have in your name, and go to that place that's next door to the Georgetown Public Hospital. It is Ministry of Human Services and Social Protection, I think it is. It's right next door to the Lotto headquarters.
okay.
It's right at
Because
the
right
corner.
now I need some help because I have to pay rent and it's very hard.
Yep, and it's not. It's a lot of people have been complaining about that. It was
So
a
you
very
don't have
tough
a
year.
number to give me for the human service?
I'm gonna try to get it and probably raise it on air. I'm gonna ask my guy here. I
Okay.
don't happen to have that, but it's right there. You'd have to get down to them there, and even
Yeah.
if you could
Thank,
call them too, maybe they
okay.
would tell you
Thank
what you
you
need.
very much, Leonard. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, my dear, and all the best for the rest of the
Yes,
year. All
please.
right. All right. I think let me clarify. I'm just quoting what the president says. He says very early in the new year they want to wrap it up and they want to start immediately with that. But there's several places that hasn't received us yet. I think in Region 4 was the biggest one. They kept Region 4 back for the last because Region 4 has many people who are renting. They have a lot of people, multiple families living in one home, and so they knew that they were in for a ride when it came for the distribution of $25,000 in Region 4. And Kimal, you see, so these are some of the big things that people really are very interested about. In your area that you live in, are you receiving the same reports?
Well, I did receive the report that when you are renting, you're probably not going to get it. So,
You're not going to get it on the first rungs because they have to determine whether you're indeed
mhm,
part. They were catering for the actual head of the household,
mhm,
but because of the, I think they didn't have enough money.
mhm.
Where you going to get the money? They had to cut budgets of several ministries and
Yeah.
so on to be able to reach. I think we looking here so far based on my what I was told, we are in excess of $8 billion so far. They had budgeted 4.5. We are about $8 billion accounted so far in what they would have shared out. So that's interesting. In the meantime, do we have another caller here? Hello.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good,
Kaieteur Radio.
yes, you're on to Kaieteur Radio. You're live
Uh,
on air right now.
Good afternoon, Mr. Gildarie.
Good afternoon, sir.
I was listening to Kimo and Guyana and Mr. Live Jagdo the other night
Uh-huh.
on the radio. Mr. Jagdo said we're going to get paid with the PSA. How could we with the PSA when we don't even have a P much of a SA? What the PSA stands for? Production. How would we know the production of the ExxonMobil given right now? So Jagdo is telling people a lot of bull. I want to call it on radio. Okay, sir?
What is so what is the question? Oh, you just wanted to make a comment.
Yeah, I just want to make, how could we know what is the, my question is, how could we know what is the PSA? How could we know the production? We don't have nobody on Exxon Mobil. How could we know that, sir?
Very good question. I'm gonna
And,
ask Kemal is probably I'm gonna bring Kemal here.
I'm not nothing to Mr. Kimal or Wishing or Mr. Lal, but the next job they run rings around them the other night. They could not talk properly, but come on, you gotta educate yourself more properly, friend.
Thank
Well, buddy, I listen to the program and listen. When I speak with Mr. Jack, they tell them. I didn't answer properly. I was like,
Well, I would address that and then I pass the mic over to Kemal here. All right. Thank you very much and have a prosperous new year to you, sir. Thank you very much for your contribution.
yeah, buddy.
All right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, thank you. The first thing with guests, and I could speak on behalf of myself here, and then Kemal, I think, is quite capable and articulate in that. You see, when you have a guest, and I've always said it, some people say, the first time I interviewed Jack Dio, because it was the first time on radio, I allowed Jack Dio to talk, and sometimes he went on for minutes and minutes, and he could talk. Jack Dio is one of the most powerful speakers. I'm not saying that he probably talks everything that he talks. It makes sense. But he's one of the smartest, one of the most articulate leaders in this part of the hemisphere that I would have listened to. And he has his facts because he is an economist, somebody with financial background. He's a former finance minister as well. Whenever he does anything, he tells a story that's all linked up to the financial aspect of things. Having said that, you have to. It's difficult for somebody to basically have a guest here and says what you just said there, Kemal, is a lie, a blasted lie, and nothing else but a lie. And so it is a difficult thing. But I hear what you were saying that we have to. But the fact is, oil and gas in Guyana. We are just 4 years old as far as or 5 years old as far as I'm concerned when it comes to experience in it. What you would have seen what Kaieteur News would have done is basically enter an arena which in the beginning, I will admit to you, and Glenn would tell you, we had very little clue and we learned. We spoke to the experts as we went along, talking to somebody who would have studied the oil for a little while and have an understanding as to some aspects of it, like Mr. Jack Dio. It's always going to be a daunting task. However, it doesn't mean that we're going to be in a ignorant manner forever. We're learning things like ring fencing. We're learning things, many other things we're learning about as we go forward. So I pass you over to Kemal because I know that he's rearing for that.
Well, I'm certainly very grateful for the constructive criticism that you gave us, sir. We're all learning here. What I can tell you is that I am not as learned as the vice president in these matters, but we are in concert and conversation with various experts from around the world, trying to get the information that the country needs to know in order to keep their leaders accountable on this matter of oil and gas. We were very grateful to have the vice president on our show the other night, and we hope that he will join us again, and we'll be ready.
And I thank you very much for that because I took away there was a lot of positives from that. I saw a lot of comments on Facebook and I smiled. You know why I smiled?
Yeah.
Because what would be, and this is I think I look at things very logically in a very pragmatic manner. What would be the alternative that we don't have conversations of this magnitude? Whether we know about it or we do, whether Jack Dio run rings or whatever. I look at it and I smile. We need to talk to our experts. We need to talk to our government. We need to talk to our leaders. And when you talk to somebody of Jack Dio's magnitude, the vice president, he's the vice president of Guyana, former president, has a lot of knowledge. And so it only would lend towards the quality of conversation that you have in this country on topical issues. So I think I looked at it, when I look back at that thing, I said, thank God. And I must say, in hindsight to Glenn Lal, he was very aggressive in pushing for these kind of conversation on the radio, in the newspaper. Every single day we talk about this and have intense discussion on the newsroom floors about oil and gas and so on, because you could, if you are a businessman and you could smell it, that this is something that could really change in a dramatic manner the quality of life our livelihood for people of this country, we could become the Dubai, as they say, of this world, or even a better, if you want to say, the Guyana of this world. If you want to put it that, let's stop talking about Dubai and start talking about the Guyana, because we have about 12,000 barrels. Is it 12,000 barrels per person?
About that.
Right. If we haven't even gone to the Kanji and the other area, and if we discover there, then that is going to go up. And if we're talking about what it really means, what that translates into in terms of the wealth, and we haven't started talking about the gold and those other things, we're just talking about the oil and gas here. These are conversation I would insist that is going to lend to our knowledge. It's going to empower us and build our capacity, because we could be able to argue with people. Hey, chap, hey, Kemal, that thing that you're doing there, it belongs to me. I need a fair share of it. That's the kind of conversation that we have to have.
That's right. And just to reinforce the wealth that we have out there, we have the second highest reserves in barrels of oil in the world. The only country that we're behind is the country of Kuwait. And Kuwait is an extremely rich country. If you go online and you search and you look at the standard of living that they give their people, you get an idea of what we're supposed to be having.
Absolutely. There's one other big takeaway before we go back to our lines very quickly. It's just after 2 o'clock now. What I could tell you is that I like the fact that Jagdeo turned up here. Former President Bharat Jagdeo, who's the vice president now, and he's the leader of the ruling party. I see there was some debate as to who's the ruler of the PPP. Who's the leader for the PPP there. But what we should look at it, that is show with the Glenn Lally himself and Kian and so on. The good thing that came out of there is that our leaders are willing to engage. I can recall not so long ago, the leaders were not engaging us. They weren't willing, but he's willing to come on a platform such as this as a very critical show. It is something that is that brings a level of conversation to where we should want it, and it's good that that our leaders have the courage to do this, and it's something that I found that was admirable. That of Mr. Jagdeo, that would have been Dr. Jagdeo, that would have been here. So that is for me. There's some good takeaways from that, and I'm very happy about that. And I want to see more of this conversation. We bring our leaders, bring the experts, and let us talk about it, because with their guidance, we could build this country, we could lift the country. There's nothing wrong with that. And it's a good thing.
And one of the other great things about the vice president coming is that both on and off air, I can tell you that we had conversations with the vice president about all of the various and major concerns that we had about the oil sector. And we told him these are the things that we want to see with regards to how we've been learning about the sector. And he has been receptive to our concerns.
And I think they're learning too, Kemal. Every day that you see these different aspects, it's so big, it's so huge, it's so complex. And as we talk about it, I think we're educating the populace as well. But the leadership too, I think they're starting to sit up and take notice. Hey, this thing could become an election issue, so we need to fix it right now, because next 5 years it could happen so very quickly. This was moving fast.
Right.
By the time you wix this year is going to be 2021 is going to be over so fast. But very quickly, when people are texting us too on the WhatsApp, good afternoon to you both brothers and a happy new year to the entire Kaieteur family. Kemal, my brother, where's the bow tie today? Keep up the excellent work, and let's continue to wake up the nation. Stay safe. God bless. And this is from a good viewer listener from our right overseas there. Good afternoon. I listen to your program every day. I live back of Agriculture Road, and it doesn't have a pipeline at the back there. What do I have to do? You went in several times and didn't come do anything. Could you send me to my personal email, to my personal WhatsApp, where exactly is this address, what road it is, so I could be able to send it to Colin Crowell, the Minister of Housing and Water. I had a conversation with him last evening. And if there's anything that I'm very happy, very upbeat about, is the willingness of some ministers to engage directly, meaning that, look, we don't have all the answers, but I am going to forward this to GWI, and because it was an issue with Blackbush Polar that the folks called me about, and he says, Gildarie, I'm familiar with that issue, I'm having it fixed, and he could tell me everything that he was dealing with. So thank you very much there. Send me those details to my personal. email, and then we're going to have it very quickly. Good afternoon, Happy New Year. Welcome to 2021. School reopened today for grade 10, 11, and 12, and yet still 7, 8, 9 is on the road playing, shopping, and others. Why didn't this reopen school for all secondary schools? The children under the protocol of COVID-19 rule because of school goes with rule. No, I think we've gotten this wrong. Grade 10, 11, 12, they have been reopened, but the protocols, you can't just go to school just like that. They have the benches spaced out, and there's only certain times of the day that you could go. The other children would have to do either you do online classes in which the teacher talks and you listen, and you get in that via WhatsApp or Zoom or something. The alternative to that is that you pick up the workbooks and so on. So yes, I think it may be a case where the parents, the man is positively determined, so I ain't sending them no way, and then maybe it lacks a monitoring of the children there. But we need to have an update on this because it's a very critical issue. Send your children to school. Please do. Please do send your children to school if you can. If you have to use the workbook, and if you happen to have any hiccups, the Wake Up Guyana show is where you contact us. Let us know what's happening. And this is coming all the way, Derek, all the way from overseas. I think he's in New York, somewhere in the U.S. there. And Derek Hawker's always been sending us messages. And I want to say Happy New Year. And he's written here, Leonard, Happy New Year to you, sir. I will continue to love my beautiful Guyana. We're still one of the richest countries in the world. Let's hope for the best during 2021. In preparation for the vaccine, I hope that the government recognizes that the government must have priority during the vaccine. Government, Guyanese, let us focus on our future. Stop complaining. Let's find a solution to our issues and make Guyana a place for all Guyanese. Let us govern our country, because the outsiders living among us are already to eliminate us and control all of our natural resources. Can you imagine a vital organ of the economy, the public health sector, is totally controlled by foreigners? So when you visit these hospitals, you're at the mercy of the expatriate. Must improve the health sector with Guyanese management. Otherwise, it becomes a security risk for government and country. In conclusion, no Guyanese citizenship for migrants or foreigners. We must protect Guyanese at all costs. Your thoughts, Kimal? You have people coming here working. Should we open our doors also? I think the regulation states right now, if you're here continuously living for 5 years, you could apply for the citizenship. In view that things have changed dramatically since we were begging people to come to our shores, to now we have people rushing to Guyana, want to take up residency, buying up properties like crazy. Should we have some changes?
So when it comes to the healthcare sector, I have to say that we need a lot more doctors and nurses. So I don't think that that's something.
No, you're talking
should be.
a couple of the private hospitals, and so you go to there, and they speak a particular manner, so you know that the majority of the workers, and we can call them out. You go to Woodlands. Woodlands has a lot of them. Balwan Singh, a lot of the Indians. So I think those are two specifically big private hospitals that you find that issue. I see what what the gentleman is saying there, but it also underlines where we're at.
Well, is the issue people thinking that they may not be able to communicate well with somebody who is from another country?
I think it's more of you protecting, and maybe if we have the capacity of doing it here, is there the question that would probably have to be asked. Are people interested in entering the medical field? Do we happen to have them? When they come back here, do they go work for this kind of money? What are some of the private hospitals doing to keep professionals, or they're just taking these people that just come out of school and put them to run the place? So there's a lot of things that we need to know. They need to probably do a study to give us some ideas as to what the state of play is, what the situation is.
Yeah, that's always been our problem. I have friends and colleagues who would have just finished medical school a couple years ago, last year, or about to finish. And a lot of them are talking about how they want to go here and there, Trinidad, Jamaica, Canada, the US, to further their medical careers because they want a better life.
Well, it's a very good point. I think we would have been going. We've been talking about bringing a law school here, We've been talking about opening a medicine school, a university of medicine. We would have had a couple of them here. I think that one is in Providence at the moment, that medical university there. Texel, I think it is.
Yes.
Are those things recognized? Are they accredited? Could you take those qualifications that you get and go to a place overseas and get those things? I think in the U.S. or so you have to do more training and so on, because some of these things are not just regulated, just like that. They're not recognized rather by those people across it. Maybe these are some of the things that we need to have a look at, but they generally has to be. I think they have to do a survey to check the level of employment, to see where people are working. They need to really do these studies so as to for us to do some scientific analysis and for us to plan for the future as we start looking in as, and it has to go hand in hand with work permits and so on that you issue too. If a man come in the country and says, I want to go work at a hospital, that I am a medical doctor or a medical student, but you have an abundance of medical students, should you allow them into the place? So these are issues that we have to deal with. But I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
You know, some of the, like the medical system in the U.S., they're very rigorous about how they go about taking in foreigners. So, for example, a hospital or a school would say, if you're coming from, say, India or some country in the East, and they don't recognize your medical degree in the same way that they process medical qualifications in the US, they would tell a neurosurgeon or something that you have to go back and do your schooling all over again in the US, just because they want to make sure that you are up to standard for the care that you have to provide to people here.
Well, we know that there have been questions about accreditation and so on. So you don't want to, and that's why I'm thinking we would have seen many times that there have been rackets run by medical overseas, offshore medical universities in Guyana and so on, and with people complaining and people ending up in all kind of problems here. And we got to be very, very careful. We got to be strict in these things. You want to open any operation here, make sure that it passes the bar, that whatever you're doing meets international standards, and that we don't give a 6 for 9, as I would say, for the people of our country. This year, it's a very serious year. It's 2021. Let's don't do things the same way like we did last year. Let's don't be tolerant of our politicians, of our leaders, like we did last year. That year would have passed. We did put them under the microscope. This year, take it to the next level. Be critical of them. If you see it can't work, embarrass them. Write to the newspaper, write it on social media, do whatever it takes so we could push for those kind of quality of leadership,
That's
the
right.
quality of management that we so badly need in this country. Whether you're a public servant, whether you're a doctor working at a public hospital, if they give you and they speak to you, tape them and come on, you need to do these things, so they would never ever think that they could give you service that's below par and that you have to take it because you don't have a choice. No, stop thinking like that. You deserve it because you're paying good money. It's good money. It's hard money that you would have worked and paid tax for. Customer service.
Oh, before we go over there, Len, there's another thing we have to talk about, and this seems to be happening in a lot of countries where there is immense wealth inequality. Reports of scams and scammers, it's on the rise currently, and we know that there are countries like Nigeria and so on that are known for scams. And we've had the issue of Ponzi schemes, people selling products and equipment to people that are not properly branded, that are not up to par. People selling, I think it was COVID tests that aren't exactly properly licensed.
Right.
Yeah, and all of those issues we're having now on the rise today. Are we becoming a country of scammers?
Well, I want to turn it on the other way, and I think a lot of people might not like what I have to say here. Are we a foolish set of people? Because if you don't know and you want to spend your money, a man calls you and they think, hey, I could make you 2 times the kind of money that you're making. Start running. Ask your pastor. Ask somebody else. Well, you know what? During the last Ponzi scheme, they had some pastors that was involved in recruiting people. So who do you trust? Call somebody. You got to talk to somebody, but be very careful with your money and how you part with it. If you're not going to a restaurant or somewhere and somebody tell you I want to invest money, get some advice. Be smart. Do not be falling for these things. If anybody tell you got to make more money, you see, if everybody know that they've been making money like that, let them advertise it, and you see how much money would come on board. And you could remember a man, Alan Stanford, very famous because he brought about 2020 cricket. He introduced 2020 cricket into the world, and it took off like a thing. But he's in jail right now. He's in jail in the U.S. because he ran a massive Ponzi scheme that involved government and it almost toppled, literally brought Antigua down to its knees because of how integral that they played into his words and so on. Later, you know what he was? He was just a fraudster that was gambling on a big platform on the international arena, and he fooled a lot of people, and Barney Madoff and everybody. We could remember those big names. Be very smart. There's another caller online. Good afternoon, caller. You're on the air. Go right ahead. Okay, it is 226-7453, 226-7453, and you could also call us on text us 622-222. Good afternoon, Leonard. Happy New Year to everybody at Kaieteur Radio. The government should review the DUI laws again to make roads safer and save lives. I agree with you. Is it that the laws need to be upgraded? I got to get myself a little familiar with that, because I think it's just the laws are there. It's just that if they catch you, or if they don't catch you, or if they catch you and don't do anything about it, and we know when they don't do anything about it, they will just show you the little fingers and so on, just keep rubbing it as if there's an itch there and hold it in front of you. It's very obvious what they want, right? So this year, no tolerance. Do not tolerate anybody asking you for money to pay a bribe. Stop doing these things. So it means that you have to do the correct thing. If you know that your car is not road sorry, it's not worthy of being on the road, do not drive it. Do not put yourself in a position that you have to pay a bribe. If you know you have to overtake and do any kind of madness, speeding and so on. Over the weekend, many people, nurse lost their life. Up in Borby, a man speeding, his wife was about to give birth within the next couple of days. He died. He lost. A taxi driver ran off the road and died. These are the things we need to pay attention to. Is there a call in line? Good afternoon, caller. You on the air. Go right ahead.
Yeah, Leonard. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you doing?
Good. I just a regular listen to your program, but I try every time and I never get through. I'm glad I get on today.
Thank you very much, sir.
I would like to know, my wife invests in this Ponzi scheme thing, and she would like to know what become of this story, because she wonder if she could get back she money.
Well, that is the issue. The people are saying, yes, I think they're buying time. The matter is before the court right now. They've been given some time to pay off, and there's been very little statements coming out from the government. The company is not paying. I think you'd have to wait a little. But I do believe, my personal view, the matter is before court. I can't say it on air. Mm-hmm. But the news that I have for you is not something that is going to put you in any good kind of mood or give you any kind of positive outlooks on this entire thing. Mm-hmm. I can't say it on air because the matter is still engaged in the court. We could be liable if I say anything on air here. Mm-hmm. But it's a very sad situation. A lot of people borrowed from the family, took some of their savings, their life savings and so on. They probably saw something and they went, and then they went again, and that's where the big lash took place. Mm-hmm. So we will continue to follow the story from a newspaper perspective, but I do want to tell you that I don't feel so good about it.
Yeah, everybody.
Right. It's very sad because a lot of people... may I ask, because we're not stating your name, how did you know about this entire investment? And I use investment in inverted commas.
Well, I just work in the interior. Me no went home. It's when my wife come home, my wife tell me about this thing, how she invest this money.
Do you know how? Did you ask her how she knew about it?
She says to call she and tell she about it.
Oh my goodness. And that was a story. That's a story, that's the thing, because people really believe. In fact, I was asked after I tried to get them on the show here, they said for me to go down there. I asked them, how you want me to take this entire radio station down to where you have your operation? Come here, let's talk about it. They never come. When my reporter called the people, They said call the lawyer. When you call the lawyer, you can't get the lawyer. The lawyer will hold press conference with individual reporters. You understand what I'm saying? Who does things like that? What kind of people does things like that? I can't tell you what are some of the answers that I have there. But anytime you have above board, you have nothing to hide. You'd be willing to engage. That's all I could say.
Yeah, well, I just listen to your program. I tell you, I call many times. I don't get through. Well, I get on today, and I got one more thing to tell you. No, man, I got enough thing. We can't talk long.
Yes, sir.
One more thing we want you to do me. I want you was let the police them do them work very often around the big market area because you got a lot of thieves and a lot of drugs that sell around them place. And I would like you let the police look into them things.
This is the Stabrook Market area you're talking about?
Yeah, Stabrook Market.
All right, I can answer you off here with that. Thank you very much, and a prosperous new year to you, sir. All the best.
Same to you. Same to you and your family.
Thank you very much, sir. So, in the meantime, if you're now joining us right here on the Kaieteur Radio, this is the Wake Up Guyana show with your host, Leonard Gildarie, and in the studio, co-hosting with myself here today. Well, I would say co-host, yes. Co-hosting today is Kemal King, and Kemal King is going to be taking the helm of this program starting next week as I go off. This week, I told him I'm going to stay for the rest of the week because, we must groove things in and get things here, cannot stop this show here. It's too many people that are involved across this country. I'm going to be dropping in once in a while, but not really to be talking. Maybe, Kemal, you could call me at home, and I could be on Zoom, and we could probably, do a couple of things there if I'm wrong. But guess what? Maybe have a wonderful set of people here, and they are going to guide you. The people are warm. We have some of the best people in this country. The Guyanese people are the best country in the entire world, and I say that without any reservations, period. Do we have another call in line? Good afternoon. No, we don't have it. I think I want to say good day to those people going back to work today. I hope that you make it a little easier with the transportation. I did drive around 10 o'clock this morning coming down, and the traffic was a breeze. I think maybe either a lot of people didn't go to work, or it's just that there's not a lot of shopping, not a lot of activities. It's going to pick up as things get a little more hectic, and there is going to be a lot more happening. Hi, Mr. Gildarie. Good afternoon to you, and all the best in New Year. On the issue of firecrackers being used, not only is the animal affected, but also when these persons light the crackers, they wake up one out of the sleep, and you could hear your roof like fine particles peeling on your roof. And the thing is, they're doing that away from their house. I feel they don't care about the laws because what is said is that there's no seriousness on penalties. I do thank you very much for that. Very quickly, let us go see what some of our people saying here too. Happy New Year's to you all out there. The country would love to know what PSA mean and how long will the PSA take effect on the gas and oil sector. Guyanese need to know now. Kemal, over to you. PSA, what does it really mean?
So PSA stands for Production Sharing Agreement. And the very basis of that agreement, the reason why it's named so, is because of the way the government and Exxon have decided they will split the money that they make. So what happens is that Exxon makes an investment into to producing oil from a field, and they will invest, say, $6-7 billion. What happens when the oil is sold is that Exxon first has to get back its investment, and then what's left, the government and the company split the profit 50-50. So that's how you get production sharing.
And then there's a 2% also.
Royalty.
What is that 2%?
So a royalty is a percentage of the sale of the resource that the government has to get as a result of its ownership of the resource. So this is common with the sale of natural resources. So we have royalties also in the mining sector, and we have royalty for the sales of not just gold and diamond, but minerals and so on.
So when somebody, I think one of the big fears, so when somebody tell you, okay, I'm going to share my profits 50-50 with you, why should you run fire?
Well, here's the thing with Exxon specifically. Exxon has to make up a book of its expenses to present to the government and say, this is the amount of money that we're spending, and this is what we want to recover. So if ExxonMobil tells you we spent $10 billion, if you don't have the know-how to look at these books and say there is something wrong with this expense that you want to get, you're going to be put in a situation where that company and its partners can rob you wholesale. And there have been instances around the world, we've shown this in our reporting, that these companies are not afraid to rob inexperienced governments. They will present books to you that are so complicated that when you look at it, if you don't increase the capacity of your auditors or bring in people, international people, who can look at these books and find what's wrong, you're going to be in a sauce. And here's what happens now. The more ExxonMobil recovers from you, the less there is left over for your profit. So ExxonMobil could have spent $5 or $6 billion for a specific project, and then they'll bring a book to you and say we spent 8 or 9. You should have gotten billions more in profits, but you're going to lose out on it because ExxonMobil may have cooked the books and given you an opportunity to give them more money than they actually invested.
And there's some lessons overseas that we would have seen this from, right?
Definitely.
All right, and this is very simple. I'll just give you a comparison. A couple of months back, I think it was Kaieteur News, definitely Kaieteur News, that would have broken the story about American Airlines. American Airlines came here, and they were charging, based on what we were seeing, some seats going back there, as much as $5,000 on one seat alone, based on the calculations that we did, because they were hiring an entire plane. And if you look at some of the prices that were being paid, it was unbelievable. Guess who pays for that? Let's say, for example, you pay $400 or $300 per day or per night at one of the hotels at Marriott, and they hand you a bill of $1,000 per night. Should you be unhappy or should you be happy? Because that comes out when they have to take out the expense. So these are some issues as we go forward that we'd have to discuss. But right about now, it's a Wake Up Guyana show right here on Kaieteur Radio. We thank you for coming to you from wherever you are, right across this beautiful land of ours or overseas. And we know we have tons of people tuned in to us right now on the YouTube. And of course, they're on Facebook as well, and they're commenting like crazy. So if you're in your fields, if you're in your minibus, if you're staying in your kitchen, if you're cooking roti in the afternoon, this is the place that you would want to be in. The Wake Up Guyana show. I want to say good day to my former sidekick, and you're not my host, Dr. Yog Mahadio. You're my sidekick. I'm just kidding. I want to say Happy New Year's to you and your family, and of course to the many who I would not have been able to talk to, but I know that they're dear. I was up Blackbush yesterday, and I could tell you that a lot of people were stopping me when I heard that I was there. And people talking about the water situation and, the drainage and irrigation is a big thing for those rice farming and cash crop farming communities. Blackbush Polo, the people are very, very passionate about that. You want to get their votes, try to solve some of the big issues like flooding, drainage and irrigation, proper water system, and fix the roads that they have in there. You are going to see how they're going to love you. And this is so true for many other farming communities across this country. The people looking out for that, and they did tell me about the marketing situation. Says we have the products, we have these, we have our greens and we have our rice and so on. We need some better price. But the good thing about the rice community this year is that they're getting some better yields because they have some better paddy that they have right now. So let's see where that goes. Do we have another caller in line? Good afternoon, caller. You're on the air. Go right ahead.
Good afternoon to you, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, sir.
I a few points I want to make. One, with the firecrackers. That thing, I have 2 young dogs, about 8 months old. If you see what those firecrackers did to those dogs, they run crazy all over the yard, like they're going mad. That is
Yes, it is. It is, and I can tell you, my dog went in, and she's a very quiet little baby. Went into her pen and didn't come out. Even when we called it, she was trembling, trembling.
I know it's very sad to see that we ignore our pets. The same dogs that protect us when the night come, you could sleep properly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I hope that they're all right, and let's hope. You see, starting this conversation, let's start bringing the awareness to our people that we have some very excited people, exuberant. Maybe they, for the moment, they don't really pay attention to these bigger things. If we start educating them, I think we're gonna see a change in the behavior.
So true. Another point I want to make when you talk about these exploitations and if these big CEOs and dignitaries when they steal they walk free and sometimes you have small men they might not even commit the crime but they just happen to be working in that field or that area and if something go missing they'll drag them to the court either to pay back or they get jail.
Well, a very good point. Maybe Kim Wall could weigh in here some of the things that he would have seen.
I've seen so many reports, and even in the oil sector, where there are a lot of big people who go to prison, there are way more instances of the middlemen, not the top executives, getting put in a position where they have to be held accountable for the crimes that may be committed by a bigger man. And we have the problem even in Guyana. In every and any sector, I can speak to the issue of taxes, for example. Kaieteur News and other organizations are hounded all the time by the Revenue Authority for taxes. But we have big multi-million dollar organizations like ExxonMobil and its partners that pay nothing.
Oh
So
boy.
there's definitely an inequality there, and that issue has to be handled by the government.
The amazing things too with this are, let me say the middleman, they might end up getting charged or something. But the CEOs that if they lose their job, next morning they could go and work with another company without
Hmm.
saying that, oh yes, you were in this fraud or whatsoever. A small man can't get back a job so easily.
Hmm.
It,
That is the
it is
problem.
it is an issue and it's a very pertinent point, and that's why you'd see. I could remember two cases in the United States that really had me, and I would say kudos because sometimes when you see these things, you see that the system works. When they had taken, I think it was Al Capone in the 30s or something, when they took him down as head of the Chicago crime situation there. He was a crime boss and he went to jail, and they had to introduce certain laws for him. But also when they had a case, I think with Wesley Snipes, so when it came to his tax, he had some tax issues, and they basically pasted him to the wall because you can't get away. And there were other cases like that too. What the point is that you have a system, regardless whether you're rich or poor, the system is designed or that would decide to put it on to you. Alan Stanford was a classical case. He was extradited to the United States, and the laws they put him behind bars. You had
True.
presidential advisors, president persons close to to Donald Trump that went to jail, and these are things. System works, and I think that's what we're talking about.
Our government in Guyana here, they try to bring a lot of foreign rules and regulation here, but they only bring the ones that penalize the small man. That's my personal point of view.
Well, let's open the conversation as we go forward in this country, as we want to take ourselves to the next level, which is a first world country. These are issues that have to be discussed. We have to flesh it out, and we have to have these discussions with the aim, of course, that we change ourselves and adapt maybe some of these laws to suit the Guyana situation.
I'm not. I have. I'm middle age. I have vague memory. I could remember about the tax, PAYE tax that we pay now. It was never this high, but I could remember that management and CEOs used to pay just as much as the small man, and they come together and went in. That time was inland revenue.
Hmm.
I say, here, listen, it's very unfair for us to pay this amount. And so come the small man and the middleman tax raised to 33 point whatsoever percent. and if and their one reduce, and if not, the company pays for them. I know of instance where that happened. I mean, they're working for the big money. Small man could barely make ends meet when the month comes, and yet they get the benefit more than us.
Thank you. Well, I thank you very much. Some very pertinent points there. And a prosperous new year from ourselves here at Kaieteur Radio, Kaieteur News. And thank you for coming through with
Could I
us.
ask you before you go off, how are
Sure.
your dogs today?
Oh boy, they I think they coming around, but I think they're still a bit. I would say, like in my terms, a little bit crazy still. Any listing now, they are very jumpy.
Thank you very much, dear
And
sir.
one more thing before I go,
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, stably abolish long, but I don't think it hold upon us the small mans in some way. Called white collar slavery now.
You
So
know,
you
it
guys
is.
have a good day. Yeah?
Yeah, thank you very much, dear. And he's so right. This is a topic, Kimal, that we would have discussed here. The inequalities, especially I think in Guyana, you would hear it more and more coming from the poor people. If you got money, you can get half. You could do anything in Guyana as long as you have some money, and that should not be. And if we really want to live the standards of this country, if we want to take our lives and we want to live that quality of life that you see what happened in some of these European countries, even the United States and Canada and so on, we have to ensure that enforcement and the courts and everybody work in an even-handed manner. You cannot have it any other way. There should be no exception to the rule. And magistrates and judges should be held in such high esteem that when they hand down a decision, but do we have that kind of trust in the court system that we could say, that judge is above board, that magistrate is above board? We had cases in the past which have left a bitter taste in our mouth.
During the election?
During the election, we could see it. We saw the criticisms at the Court of Appeal. I mean, you were there thinking, what was some of your thoughts, very quickly?
Well, of course, I'm not going to name the judges, but there are people who, when they gave their judgments, it was dragged out in such a way that the people who cover court all the time and the lawyers would listen to this and they'd say, how did you make sense of such a judgment? How did you come to this? Like, the only conclusion that I could make after listening to your judgment is that it's biased.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting as we go forward. Let us see. We will have to continue these conversations, and the gentleman there would have had some very important points to make. Good afternoon, gentlemen. If you are not at home for signing the pink form, what is the next step in doing so? Try to get hold of your NDC, the RDC, and try to get hold of those folks, and they will accommodate you. At least that is what I was told. I went to NIS this morning, and the staff was very professional and helpful, so keep it up, guys. Thank you very much there. Let's see what happened. NIS has a new board of director being headed by Ramesh Prasad. He's no other than the chief executive officer of the Institute of Private Enterprise Development, this IPED, and they have been given a very important task by the senior minister of finance, Dr. Ashish Singh. Get your act together, get the NIS act together, make this entity a sustainable one. You should also ensure that you raise the bar when it comes to the level of services, improve your time in which you process the claims from our taxpayers and so on. So some very important instructions handed to NIS, and to hear that, it's a very, very good thing. And it's just about 1:45 now. We have a couple minutes that we could take some calls. Let me see very quickly if there's some other. Could we take a call right now? Good afternoon, caller. You're on the air. Go right ahead.
Good evening.
No, it's good afternoon, man. Like, I didn't wake you up to tell you tell me good evening. But guess what? I still love you and Happy New Year's.
Same to you and your family.
Yes, ma'am.
And to your staff and the big boss.
The big boss.
Glenn Lal.
The big Glenn Lal, yes.
Yes. Is he having program tonight? It's about the oil?
I think he is. He's not gonna sway. This is a man. If there's anybody fixated on anything to give him the people, I spoke to him this morning, and I spoke to him over the weekend, and he says he's not moving from where he stands.
Yes, yes.
You make me feel sad when you say you're leaving us, man. Really, Kaieteur
No, 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 no,
family,
no, 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 no.
man.
I'm not gonna be far. It's just that I have to I have to be away from computers and phones and things like that for a little while.
And not permanently, make sure they know that.
Then not man. Oh, come on. Gildarie is not gonna come away. I mean, this is what I know. What am I gonna do?
Right, you have to look after your health first.
Yes.
And I know, Pamal, there he's going to give us a good show.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you very much, and have a pleasant rest of the year. I hope
And
that.
I want to tell you something, my son. If you could call me back after the program, I'm having a serious problem with my neighbor.
Call me on 225. Call me after 4:30. 225-8491.
225
8491. After about 4:30 or so.
225
491.
22584. What about if you give me a call? I might forget the number.
All right, you give me a number.
It's Auntie Pam.
Okay, Auntie Pam, give me a number.
2255201
Five,
from
five,
La
five.
Peniton.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, love.
Thank you. So, let us say, I see Ben Yasgur, and thank you very much for making a contribution, Ben. Ben says maybe critics is right, and Glenn Landler and his team are making noise to sell newspaper. They have no guts to protest for anything that they discuss in period. Let me answer Ben in this particular way. I've been with the newspaper Kaieteur News for 13 years. I've seen Glenn Lal push his hands into his pocket and investigate by channeling. We went up in helicopters, and let me tell you, it's not cheap to go up in helicopters. I've seen him do some things. Sometimes I had to ask him, "Are you crazy, Mr. Lal?" But then I saw the wisdom somewhere along the line as to what he's doing in terms of what he's fighting for. I could remember in 2011 elections, the stands that he took, in 2015, the stands that he took, and in 2020. And I could tell you for very clear when it comes to when we have to deal with our issues downstairs there in the newsroom. There's a big fighting that's happened when it comes to the news. They flesh it out and they discuss it and they go and decide what angle that they're taking. That is because that is the democracy that we have with the newspaper there when it comes to doing what we're supposed to do as news media. This is not the boss takes the decision. That's how it happens. So we don't have to head out to the streets if that's what it takes. We did when we weren't getting our radio station. We did take to the streets. Our job is to put the news to the people, raise the issues, and let the people make their conclusions. And we're going to not stop, because that's what we do. Look at Rachel Maddow. Look at CNN, Anderson Cooper Live. Look at the rest of them that you would have there, CNBC and BBC and so on, and see how they have those talk shows. They take the hard issues, the issues that people don't have a voice, and they discuss it so they could be able to take it to the next level. And the next level is to raise the resolution. Are we doing anything wrong, Kimal? Where is it that we've fallen? Should we take this? Is it our job to take the streets? Is that what we're supposed to do? I'm not sure.
I think Mr. Lal has said many times that he is not afraid to take the news to the streets. I was really surprised when I read this comment from Ben Yasker, because Kaieteur News has a definite record of standing up to whatever government of the day.
We have taken on the Grange administration in not an ordinary way. We have called them out. We have written extensively about them. Is it a sell newspaper? Our newspaper is not about sell. If you look at the newspaper, we have taken away crimes and everything. You might see a crime being stick in there, but it's the issue, the bread and butter issue that you're talking about when it comes to running this newspaper. I mean, some days he says, "What's wrong with you, Mr. Glenn Lal?" But guess what? We fight with him, but we have a newspaper. And we're saying this to you because you understand the newspaper has been part of your lives. And so we tell you what our struggles, and we tell you was it that we go out and get the news. It's not easy that sometimes that everybody stop talk to you. Guess what? Some of the politicians that's in government, some of the opposition people, they don't want to take your call, because when you call them, "Oh God, what is he calling me for?" So many times we have to ask the experts, or we have to do a lot of digging. We have to spend money to get it done. It's not so much about selling newspaper, Ben. It's just goes maybe a little more, but the people are not willing to stand up, Ben. And you're right. the people we traditionally, it has to be because we are very conservative people. We haven't been a fighting one taken to the streets, and that's not what we are. But it come to a point where, because of what is at stake, all we just saying, start demanding a little more, start demanding a little more from your leaders. It's probably going to take us to a place where eventually we got to tell the people to stay home, because they are going to be a point where they're going to say, I ain't taking that from Kimal King, neither from WR Riaz. A Happy New Year's to WR Riaz. So I want to say a good day to him. I know he's preparing for his show. Kimal, on point, to you.
Yeah, I mean, I said that Kaieteur News' record could speak for itself. Even the record of the reporters can speak for themselves. Look at the 5-month election period. Myself, Michaela Prince, Shakima Day, we stood in front of cameras and spoke out and stood up to various officials who would come out at the Hatfield Street building or GCOM in Kingston or the Artichoke Conference Center and call them out when they lied to our faces. So Kaieteur News is definitely not a newspaper or Kaieteur Radio that backs down from a fight.
Well, there's another thing that I should think. That let's not kill the messenger. Let's look at the bigger picture. What's at stake here? Do we have a right to ask for what belongs to us? Do we have a right to ask our leaders to be accountable, to be a little more transparent? Do we have a right to ask the policeman not to take bribe? What are some of the things? I mean, these are things that are very important. It speaks to your pocket. What is in your pocket? What is in your wallet? As I say, I think, who used to say that? Is it MasterCard? Someone them used to ask, what's in your pocket? It is important that you start paying attention. That if you don't ask me for what the government is doing with the $25,000. Start asking. I need to start talking about an improvement in my pension. Instead of 50,000, why can't I get 100,000? Let's talk the real things. So I think Kimal is going to ask Raj now if there's another call online. Yes, good afternoon, caller. You on the air. Go right ahead.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Kaieteur?
Yes, you're on the Kaieteur Radio. You're on the air right now.
A happy and a blessed New Year to Mr. Leonard and Kimal.
Yes, ma'am.
And the entire staff of Kaieteur.
Yes, ma'am.
Now I have a concern which is very, very frustrating. Our sewage here is overflowing since
Where is this?
Christmas. The sewage.
Where is it?
It's overflowing. The passageway where we used to walk out.
Where you live in? Where you live in?
This is in Hill Street, Alboyston.
Hill Street, Alboyston, yes.
Yeah, I made several reports. The first one is the 14th of December.
This is the way you made this report.
It's terrible. I'm living in Hill Street, Alboyston.
No. Where did you make the report?
GWI, the sewage system.
What is it?
They said they will come. They give the reference number. Since the 14th, several calls made after, and they didn't come to do it. And it's terrible. It's terrible for the elderly and for children.
Send me a text, and I would send it to the good minister and let the minister follow. It's very unfortunate that GWA, and it's a new year, and I don't want to sound like I'm harping on things. Yeah. GWA need to get your act together. You people need to engage the people a little more. Very critical service there, and we're not letting up. We have to raise our level, raise the bar. Send me your text. I'm going to send it to the minister. And I don't understand why is it that people got to reach a minister so that we got to send it to the minister so the minister could send it to GWI. You understand how stupid the system is?
I don't know if you need a reference number.
You send it to me. Text it to me and I'm going to send it to him.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, then. Thank you so much.
Yes, my dear. Bye-bye. Have a pleasant rest of the year. Kimal, and these are some of the issues here that we will be dealing with. People complain the quality of service in this country. It's unbelievable. What's more unbelievable that it's coming from our state entities.
Yes.
Customer service, the way that they get back to people, follow up. I mean, while it's important for you to deliver operations, your PR department, your other department which deals with customer services, has to be taken to the next level. Our people need to be engaged. It's respectful if you do that. It is disrespectful what our people have been subject to over the years. Because why? They said, well, it's a government entity. Stop saying that. It belongs to you. You're the boss. What is wrong? I mean, it's a new year now. I shouldn't be stressed. I gotta check my temperature and my pressure after this because it gets me upset that week in week out after this. And you mean to tell me nobody in authority is not paying attention? Unfortunately, it's that time of the year. Sorry, the time of the day with when we have to say goodbye. Kimal, is it something you might be interested in? Do you think there's too much work?
I 2 hours seems like a mouthful, but I think I could handle it.
No, when the people start talking to you, if you handle this thing here, you're going to see, in fact, people are going to be mad at you that you're bringing the show to an end. But guess what? Kimal is going to be back here tomorrow, and we're going to be back, and we're going to be doing it. And tell you what, the Wake Up Guyana show, thanks to you people, has come out on its own. It's created a life of its own, a following of its own. And if we have done if we have kept you company, if we've given you hope, it means that we have fulfilled part of our mandate. For that, Kimal, I'm really, really happy because we have a wonderful set of people that's out there joining us from not only Guyana, we have a huge following overseas too, and they're tuned into us. They get us on Facebook, on YouTube. So I thank you very much. Tomorrow, we are going to be back same place, same time. We can't read all the messages because the messages are so much, but I think we had a very good day today. I think we have started this year off on a bang. We're very resolute. We're very targeted in where we want to go this year. And let us make this country into a better place. We have to start getting angry. We have to start wanting to see meaningful changes. Let's not talk about change. Let us see those changes. And I think our president, to President Irfan Ali, we want to say to you and your team in the cabinet that we look forward to seeing a lot of engagements with the people of Guyana, with the media. We want to say to the opposition, we expect that you would take up your role in the National Assembly, in the various committees, including the Public Accounts Committee. We expect that our NDC leaders, our NDC officials, our RDC officials, our city councils, that they are resolute in making sure that they deliver services to the people, that they are accountable, that they're transparent in their transactions. We want to say to our regulators also that you do your job. We don't expect that we're giving you millions of dollars every year and that you sit down in your office, your nice comfy office, and issue 1-2 statement and that's it. You need to make sure that you charge people. You need to make sure that you make statements that embarrass people. That those are things that we want to see. Do not sit on your hands. It's a new year. It's 2021. It's a year of change. And we expect to see you here back tomorrow. Same place, same time. We are preparing right now on Kaieteur Radio for WRES. A good day to WRES and family. I'm not sure why there's a tongue twister here, but I could tell you that he seems as if he had a very good weekend. And I want to say thank you very much to Mr. Kimal King, my colleague reporter here at Kaieteur News, for keeping me company. And I'm excited. I feel that we're in good hands as we move forward towards the end of this week, that he is going to take this show to the next level. Thank you very much. Have a pleasant rest of the day until we meet again.
This is a GPL public advisory. Temporary business hours during the holiday season. The Guyana Power and Light Inc. wishes to advise our valued customers of our temporary business hours at our commercial offices and customer service centers countrywide. Our commercial offices and customer service centers will be opened and closed as follows for the period Thursday, December 31st, 2020 to Sunday, December 3rd, 2021. All commercial offices and customer service centers will be opened for business on Thursday, December 31st, 2020 from 8 hours to 13 hours and closed for business on Friday, January 1st, 2021, Saturday, January 2nd, 2021, Sunday, January 3rd, 2021. Business resumes on Monday, January 4th, 2021. All prepaid customers are encouraged to purchase an adequate amount of electricity tokens in order to ensure a consistent supply of electricity between the period Thursday, December 31st, 2020 and Sunday, January 3rd, 2021, when GPL and most of its authorized agents will be closed for business. Prepaid juice cards are available in denominations of $500